Hello, my name is Karen Díaz. I am going to talk about freedom of the press in Brazil and how she has had many problems since Jair Bolsonaro came to power. I will first talk about a small context that situates the fight that Brazil has had in relation to this issue, and then I will count the figures that have been present in the last year with the addition of violence against journalists and the media censorship. What is the relationship between the Bolsonaro government and the lack of the freedom of press in Brazil? To understand what Bolsonaro's relationship with the media has been, one must understand that Brazil has been a country that has had different dictatorships from 1964 to 1985. The total number of these and disappearances of those years is not yet available, but the Commission from the Truth estimate that more than 50,000 people were imprisoned, of which many were tortured, and more than 600 um, are now to have been murdered. Many of these records belong to students and journalists of the time. Censorship was one of the greatest consequences of the dictatorship, and journalists on the media were frequently silenced, often with political standards that prevent them from publishing, or many times journalists were killed and disappears. The most remembered case of the death of journalist is Vladimir Sergov, who was killed to a statement of the headquarters of the São Paulo Army Command, and days later was found hanged in the empire itself. Officially said to have committed suicide, but years later it was discovered that he was tortured and killed. This shows that Brazil has been a country that had many problems with the freedom of the press, and also this situation improved of several years since the National Federation of Journalists was created, which should ensure the right of the journalists and the media. The situation around the of the years warners again, and there's appear Jair Bolsonaro. According to a report by the International Organization of Reporters Without Borders, Brazil ranking 102 in the world ranking of press freedom among 118 countries. However, for the years 2019, it fell to 105 place, classifying itself in a situation considered as problematic. Jair Bolsonaro has become the enemy of the press in Brazil. Attacks on journalists and press vehicles grew by 54% in the first years of this government alone. According to a study carried out by the National Federation of Journalists, in 2019 alone, there were 208 cases of the verbal violence against different journalists, and 114 of those attacks were made in an official message from the presidency, and 7 cases of direct attacks on journalists. In 2017, there was no record of any journalist killed, but in 2019, there were 2 deaths. According to several national and international organizations, the government restrict the words of the press and ignore the constitutional obligation to be transparent. Saying much information from the government is reserved as not is public. Journalists who try to handle this type of information are automatically censored. The total number of cases present that year represent a peak of the violence against journalists from the figure recorded 6 years early. The derogatory language that the governor used and the strong criticism that he gives to the media have made them an enemy president of journalists. The censorship registered in last year on issues of gender violence, racial, and presidential issues have become daily.
Tem uma cara de homossexual terrível, mas nem por isso te acusa de homossexual. Se bem que não é crime ser homossexual. Esse jornalismo que vocês fazem é jornalismo podre. Um jornalismo podre da TV Globo. Podre, canalha.
In the country, according to survey by National Federation of the Journalists, the South aim to be a region hardest hit by this increase the tiers of journalistic practice, with 46.81% of registered cases, followed by the Main West region with 18%, and 30 of those cases registered in the federal district. And the general and specific tiers, in addition to the deaths of journalists Robson Girono and Romario da Silva Barros, have made journalism a dangerous profession in Brazil. It should be classified that the governor has only been a years and the negative figure from press freedom. They have risen more than 35%. According to the director of the federation, Maria Jose Braga, the press is more than ever being attacks directly and indirectly, and it is something that cannot be allowed, because journalism is necessary more than ever to be able to show that irregularities that the government itself intends to cover.